are on the Labelist podcast. My name is Bryce Landers, and I'm here with an incredible speaker and incredible real estate investor with probably one of the most amazing stories that I've ever heard. I met him probably 3-4 weeks back at an incredible networking event. And if you checked out episode 1, you know the importance of networking. And so if you haven't watched that, go back, check that out. But I am here with amazing man, Houston Becquet. So for those people that don't know who you are, never heard of you, can you give us your background? Tell us what you're about.
I'm right now I'm focusing on the wholesale acquisition right now. But basically what that looks like is we go after on market leads for low equity. So we're trying to target that, kind of just purchased in the last year or so, maybe 2 years, and they need to sell for whatever reason. So they're most usually either underwater or pretty close there. And so we can get into these houses for, usually around 5 to 7% of the actual mortgage price. And then we assign those on to buy and hold investors.
So can you talk about your journey? Because, I feel like a lot of people, myself included, have been kind of in both stages that you were talking about. One, in the analysis paralysis, and two, in that fear of assistance, fear of like working with other people. How did you overcome? So first, that fear of working with people. Like, what was the mindset shift, or what caused you to want to change and start working with people?
What's kind of funny is it actually was a little bit of jealousy that started me to work with other people. I saw Kevin Show. This, for those that don't know, Kevin Show is currently 22 years old, and he's doing exactly what I'm doing, and he's making over $600,000 this year. And so I was like, you know what? And he's 22 years old, and he never went to school. He didn't do any of this stuff, and I'm over here. I'm like, 7 years his senior, and I'm like, oh man, like I gotta, I went to school. I did everything by the book. I did everything right, so to speak, everything that like everyone tells you to do, and yet I'm over here making $60,000 a year, and this guy's making $600,000 a year, and so I'm like, what? How the heck is this kid doing it? Like, I got like angry almost. I was like, what? I was like, what does he have that I don't have? And like, really, what that caused me to do was just gravitate towards him. I was like, I got to pick this guy's brain. I got to get near this guy. I got to figure out what the heck he is doing that I'm not doing, because I've been trying this stuff for 10 years and it's not working. I can't figure this out. Like, what? I gotta get near this guy. And so I did. And I realized, no, we are not that much different at all. And in fact, everybody can do this. It's just the matter of getting all of the ducks in a row, or all the dominoes in a row, and not, letting any of them fall over before before they're all stacked up. And really what that takes is experience. You cannot substitute that with anything else. It's only experience. And so that's where teaming up with people, squatting up with people, that's where that comes in, is though they can take you to the finish line. And then once you're to the finish line, something just clicks in your brain. It's the proof of concept, and you're like, holy cow, like I can do this. Like, and then it's for most people, that's all it takes is that first deal. And that's like why so many people, so many gurus, so many speakers focus on the first deal, is because it's such a mindset thing. Like once you figure that out, you're off to the races. And so for me, it was getting around people that were actively doing deals, and a little bit of jealousy, actually, to be completely honest.
Man, hey, at least you're honest. I feel like most people they won't admit that last part for sure. It's just, they come up with every other reason. But so what was that? What was your experience doing your first deal? Because like you said, that's kind of like that mental barrier. So what was that experience like when you did that? And then how long after did you start to do deals consistently?
Yeah, great question. So my first deal was back in March 2023. So if you're watching this right now, that's 6 months ago, 6.5 months ago, and to from there to consistently doing deals was about 2 months ago. We started about a month ago we started consistently doing deals. Just now we are consistently closing deals. And so um, from March to, let's say, July, I did 4 deals. So about a deal a month. And then from now, August and September, we're on track to doing, I think, 16 deals. And we're putting, I think, like $6 million through escrow. So pretty insane, like the kind of snowball compounding effect that we've been able to do. But the only reason we've been able to do that is because I built a team that just helped facilitate everything that I wasn't great at or didn't want to do. And so my first deal, what that looked like going back is I JV'd, and I encourage everybody to JV up with somebody else. And what you do with a joint venture is essentially you're bringing a deal to an established investor, and you're using their resources, their systems, their processes to get that deal done. And you get a portion of those proceeds, anywhere from 15 to 50%, depending on how far you've taken that deal along, and then how many of the resources that your partner is actually utilizing. Um, in my experience. So I always encourage everyone to JV, and how that looks is you kind of go to an established investor and you say, "Hey, how can I bring you deals? How can I make you more money?" Essentially, and they will, so for me, like I can only recreate what I'm doing. I can't. I don't know how to go and shop a probate list or skip tray stuff because I'm not doing that. What I do is all on market. So I'm going to encourage people to just call agents, pick up the phone and call agents. If you want to get a little, the next step, we want to put you, on an actual list. There's a whole bunch of software that you can determine like an estimated equity percentage. But, all of that stuff is just efficiency. You can actually get your first deal right off Zillow. And that's what I encourage people to do is just to call these leads that have been on market forever, have a conversation with the agent. And you're not focused on the deal you're calling about. You're focused on building the relationship with that agent so that she will then, or they will then potentially, turn around and give you any other deal they come across. My first deal was a JV. What it was is I called the agent. I was calling a nationwide no equity list, and I found somebody who they're a military family, and they actually had moved to this area. It was an area right outside of Waco called Robinson, Texas. And they moved to this area. They bought this beautiful, nice house. They thought they were going to be in there for 10, 20 years. And, 7 months down the line, they got a, relocation, letters in the mail, and they were basically forced to move to a new base. And now they're sitting there with two mortgage payments because their property wouldn't sell for what they bought it for last year, and they didn't want to lose money when they were selling it. And so I called them up and I offered, I think it was $5,000 to the seller and then $10,000 to the agent. So it was an all-in cost about $15,000 into this deal. It was a $420,000 note, and it was a 4.67% interest rate. So we just essentially took over those payments. We paid the seller a little bit of money. We gave the agent a little bit more money, and we turned around and we sold it to Pace, who's actually using it as a midterm rental. And what that looks like is he's getting essentially nurses that come in because there's a big hospital nearby. And so he's putting nurses into a furnished home and getting a higher than average rental rate. So again, to bring it all back, to answer your little 15-second ending. My first deal was a JV deal. I went and called the list that an established investor pointed me towards. I called, found somebody that was interested, brought it to that investor. That investor, Kevin Cho, actually, wrote the contract, sent the contract, used his resources, his transaction coordinator. We used his dispo. We sold to, using his infrastructure, and I ended up getting 50% of that deal, of that assignment. And it was a $10,000 assignment, and so I got to keep $5,000 on a deal that I didn't close. I didn't write the contract on. I didn't have to find the buyer. All I did was call somebody and pitched them, just had a conversation and offered a service, and it kind of blew my mind that that was a thing. And so I just kind of kept doing it, not very, like, I didn't hit the phones as hard as I could have, but I was also too working a job, and so I was kind of calling where I could. But I got a deal for the next 3 months.
That's so great,
Yeah.
and that's so helpful. And so, after you did your first deal, so what was that process like of building your own teams? How was the transition difficult, or tell us about that experience?
Awesome. No, that's a great question. So the transition to starting my own team was actually really organic. I actually just kind of was. Well, I'll give you a little backstory on how my partner and I became to be partners. So he and I have been accountability partners for the entire time I've been in Sub Two. Just one random post, I think Pace had just been reached out and like, hey, if you don't have somebody in the group that you are calling every week, and it's like your battle buddy, then you're not doing this group right. Something along those lines. And so we had like reached out and on just like a random post and was like, hey, yeah, let's be battle buddies. I didn't take it that seriously. This guy took it way more serious than I did, and he called me every single week. I didn't even save his number for the first like 3 weeks. He'd call me, and I'd be like, "Oh shoot, yeah, that's right. There's this call." And then we ended up being buddies. We ended up being really good friends. He's a cool guy, really really driven, ambitious individual, and I really admired him in a lot of ways. And he just kept up with me and was very very persistent and consistent. And when I started doing deals, he'd actually come out and visited, and he had saw how I was doing deals because he was attempting to do exactly what I was doing, but he wasn't getting success in it. But he was working, a 9 to 5 normal hours, quote unquote. So he didn't have very much time to call. Whereas I was working I was working bartender, so I was working at nighttime, and so I had the whole daytime to call. And so for us, we just kind of like we're like, hey, oh, back bring it back. So he came out to visit, and he saw how I was doing things. And he essentially said, hey, instead of me trying to recreate what you're doing, how about I can just, create a system where you can double what you're doing? And then would you be willing to split that with me? And I was like, heck yeah, let's do it. And so he watched me. He physically came to my house to this computer, and he saw how I was pulling my leads, how I was combing through them, how I was importing them into my system, how I was calling them, and he automated 99% of that, and created a system in which it pulls it, it sorts it, it imports it into our CRM, and it's the best, most high quality leads we can possibly imagine, done every day for us. And he kind of just started creating this for me, and I was like, holy cow, I like this, and this is something that used to take me 20, 30 minutes, not forever, but like 20, 30 minutes at the beginning of the day. And the problem is, and this might be helpful, might not be helpful. What I found is when I pulled my own leads, if I'm not focusing 100% of my effort on it, I almost don't trust them as much as I trust someone else who their whole job is pulling leads. Their whole namesake is good quality leads. I almost trust theirs even more, even if it's the same exact list, even if it's the same exact everything. The kind of disconnect of me not pulling it and just having the faith in my partner, it allows me to kind of attack attack the conversations, attack the leads with an air of confidence that I didn't have when I was pulling them by myself. If that makes sense, it's kind of like a random, but he came over, he saw how I was doing things. He basically made my life a whole lot easier by creating systems that did this stuff for me. And then from there, we started getting deals, and we're like, heck yeah, this is awesome. How do we scale up? And so now we have 3 dedicated callers underneath us that, where I work on the acquisition side, Ryan works on the integration dispo side. And so I just pulled 3 people from the sub two group that have been very consistent with me and calling with me, and we put them on our team. And now they cold call essentially all of our leads, put them in as into the buckets, warm, hot, and then I come in and I close on anything hot. Our team was just, like I said, grew very organically just from our needs and just trying to make the whole machine more efficient, I should say.
Right. No, that's awesome. That makes a lot of sense. I feel like a lot of people just force it, like, oh, I did my deal, now I need a team, and they try to force and put everything together, and so it doesn't end up coming organically, and they got turnover, or they're not getting leads, or they're not finding like experts that can help them. But it sounds like what you guys did has been just really successful with that organic growth.
Yeah, no, we were. I mean, trust me, we've had very stressful moments, very stressful weeks, very stressful months. But the main thing is like I said at the very beginning, is getting around people that are actively doing deals. And so what we did is we kind of got around people that have the businesses we're trying to achieve, and we took little pieces of each one of theirs, and we've implemented them into our business. And I keep saying organically because it really is. It's like, hey, like, we're coming into this kind of problem, let's find somebody else who has overcome that kind of problem, and that's driven the growth, and not, so much like you say, like, so I do agree. I think most people should do way more JVs than they think they should. I did 3 before I tried to create my own team, and that wasn't enough. It really depends on your partner and how much you're, being involved in the process. But I felt like I knew it all after 3 deals. And then when you go to start it off your own business, you're like, holy cow, there's a million more parts to this than actually, I initially anticipated. So another part is, hey, get around people, get people on your team, because that's more eyeballs that can catch stuff that goes wrong too.
Right. No, that's so good. I want to go back to kind of what you said in the intro, and you said you had bought pretty much every mentorship and every course kind of over the course of 10 years and tried different things. So, can you tell us about that experience and what I guess was in you that made you like not change industries or quit or give up? Like, why did you persist with real estate and pursuing this avenue versus going to something else or even sticking to bartending?
I mean, I would probably would have stick to bartending for the rest of my life. I mean, it's easy money, and you get paid every night. I don't think, I mean, it's the ideal job, I think, personally. I get to go talk to people in a good environment, and then you get paid cash at the end of the day. Like, I don't know. I feel like every job should be that way. Like I should be able to leave whenever the hell I want. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I is exactly, give me my money. Give me my money. I want to go spend it. Um, but so yes, I spent countless life savings, 10 life savings on on 10 years worth of life savings each year on a new program, a new course, a new mentorship. And it wasn't like I wasn't taking action. My first course was a clever investor um, direct mail marketing focused thing where I ended up spending like $5,400 on this mail campaign, and I sent it all out in 1 week, and got a million calls that 1 week. My phone literally melted, and I had no idea what to do. It's never been a problem of taking action. It's never been a problem of willing to invest in my future. I've known that real estate was the way to go my whole life because I read a Robert Kiyosaki book, and I can't remember which one it is, but he had talked about, because I've read a bunch of them. I can't remember which one this particular Vosa's, but he was talking about how the majority of millionaires, no, it was not. It was the Gary Keller book, the Keller Williams guy, Gary Keller, and it was like, I think One is the name of the book or something like that. That just popped in my head. Yeah, the One Thing or something like that. But anyways, so he talks about how the majority of millionaires in America, 80% of which, overwhelming majority, 80% of which made their millions through real estate. And that just stuck with me. I was like, holy cow, like why try to get into all these other fields? I mean, these like hundreds of other competing fields, hundreds. Why would I get into them if they're all competing for a fraction of the of the spread? Like, why would I not just jump into the, like, that's like swimming upstream? You know what I mean? Like, I've always known that, like, hey, I need to get into real estate in whatever facet. I need to get into real estate because the people that own real estate, those are the majority of the millionaires. And I've always known that, hey, millionaire is the new middle class. I've always, so I grew up, my parents made good money. Well, my mom always just worked like little jobs just to get out of the house because she just liked to work. My dad, he made great money my whole life. My whole life, he made amazing money. We were very, very wealthy until the 2008, 2007, 2008 crash, and then a divorce right after, and a bankruptcy. And so we went from very, very wealthy to like not well off at all, and all while living in like a very, very nice part of town. And so I saw the intense polarity of having wealth and not having wealth, and also to the perception thereof. And so for me, I've always known that, hey, I'm not a very money motivated person. It's more of a lifestyle. And I want to have a lifestyle where I can go and enjoy things. And I'm a believer. So I truly believe that God wants us to give back. And if I'm in a position where I'm struggling to get by, well, I can't give back. And if I can't give back, I don't feel like I'm fulfilling my duties as a steward of this land. And so I'm intensely driven to be able to get to a position where I'm able to then give back. And for me, I really have always known that real estate is a surefire way to get there. And I knew that if I get around the people that are doing it, around the millionaires, maybe it'll rub off on me, and so I wanted to always get into real estate investing. I purchased all these courses just to have the opportunity to get around these people. And I didn't realize that that's really what it was until this year. I didn't realize that that's all it was. All I needed to do was to get around the people that were doing deals. Like, oh my gosh. Like, and so when people ask me, they're like, oh, like, what's the first step to doing this, to doing this? I watched all the content. And I'm like, stop watching content. Go meet people. Like, go meet people. Like, get around them and don't try to reinvent the wheel. I'm literally a Kevin Cho copycat. And I see him pretty frequently. I'm really lucky, he's in town. And I told him the other day, I was like, man, I was like, I hope you don't feel like I like took some of your like business or took some of your. And he's like, what? Why would you feel that? I was like, he's like, dude, you made me a bunch of money, and now you're making a bunch of money. He's like, dude, that's awesome. And I was like, holy cow, that's such an amazing way to think about it. Like, I admire the guy so much. And it's so funny because that's usually, I feel like, what jealousy turns into, at least with dudes. We end up, we have like a little bit of like a friction because like there's this like the like I want to be like you kind of thing. But I'm gonna mask it as like I don't like you, or I'm mad that you're successful. But really, what it is I want to be like you, and now it's grown into this, from this jealousy to this admiration to this, collaboration, and it's really a cool development. So I suggest getting near people that are doing deals, because guess what? The most valuable thing you can do in real estate is bring problems. So go out, find some problems, and bring them to an active real estate investor. It's a great way to get paid and get your nose into the business. Absolutely.
Simple. Oh man, I love that answer. I think there's such a common, I guess, a misconception that successful people don't want to help you. But the reality is, especially when you're tied into different groups and you do the networking, like everyone wants to help you because it's really just such a win-win playing field. Like there's just so much abundance to go around. And if you're just taking action, like everybody wins is really what it comes down to.
Absolutely. And so I'm so glad you touched on that point, because it really is like every successful person I've ever met has been the most helpful or like go-giving mentality person I've ever met. Really. I mean, absolutely. And it's funny because you just kind of, I guess like, and the antithesis of that is my sister's very, very fine, like financially poor, and always has like this mindset of, hey, I want to be a go-giver, I want to do this, I want to do that, but instead can't afford that, can't do that, and then ends up putting herself in a bad position every single time she does help somebody, because then she can't pay her rent or can't pay her the whatever. And then really what you're doing is you're drowning both of yourselves. You know what I mean? It's like I always use the analogy of like, hey, if hey, you're in the ocean and you're trying to, if someone's drowning, how do you save someone that's drowning? You don't get underneath them and push them up onto something, because there's no leverage. There's nothing to stand on. You can't do that. You have to get up onto the platform and then pull them up. You have to in life, you have to build a stable platform. That platform's not just out there. You have to build that platform. And that platform is financial wealth, emotional stability, a relationship with God. In my eyes, that's like the foundation. You have to build that, and then you can, from there, you're on a platform where you can then, give a hand out, and it's a hand up. It's not a hand out at that point. Where you're leveling people up to your level, instead of trying to like, keep your head above water and pushing somebody up, and the whole while you're being pushed down. When you're up on a platform, guess what? You're not pushed down. You're not pulled down by helping somebody up. You're on a stable platform. You're staying where the hell you are. And in fact, when you help them up, guess what? Now you may even be a little bit higher, because now you got, people helping to build that platform even higher and even higher. And so it's so important to get around people that are doing deals, and build that stable platform. And it does not start with finances. It does not start with finances, because finances come and go. Money is fickle. It's finite. It'll be here, it'll be there. You don't leave with it. What you can control, and this is the only thing you can control, is your attitude. And I think your attitude and your whole mental stability, it really stems from your attitude and your perception of the world. And that's what we can change through, internal, a whole bunch of, self work and internal work. I think that is really what I've been honing the last 10 years, and I didn't notice, was I needed 10 years worth of self work. I wasn't in a place 10 years ago to succeed. Even if I got around Kevin Show 10 years, I mean, he would have been 12, but someone like Kevin Show 10 years ago. Yeah, dude, can you imagine? But even if I was around someone like him 10 years ago, I don't know if I would have been in the position to succeed. Or if I would have succeeded, it probably would have been, a quick. I probably would have been, not in the mindset to keep it or keep it going. Maybe I would. Who's to say? But all on the point I'm
Take
alluding
you to the
to
finish
is
line.
I've been working on that stable platform for the last 10 years without knowing it. And then finally, when I got around people that were doing deals, that was just the last little bit that I needed to, like throw the last planks on the platform, rather, that financial health. And then I'm able to now turn around and help people up because I've built that stable platform.
That's so good. So where would you suggest people start with that self work that they need to do? Because we're all in different places. What do you think is a good starting point for almost anyone?
Well, YouTube. I mean, YouTube's literally the best resource on the planet for anything. I don't think it's the most intellectually dense. Like, I don't think that you're going to find, the actual meat and potatoes, so to speak, on YouTube. But it is absolutely the place to start because it's a free resource that has 90% of every information you will ever need in your entire life. And that will get you started. I think getting active, physically active, and that's different for everybody. I go to the gym, but I'm not like looking to build a bodybuilder physique. I go to the gym 3 days a week because I want to be healthy. I want to be able to move my body and enjoy my locomotion. You know what I mean? So I want to facilitate health. So that's why I go to the gym. That is where I would recommend. So go to YouTube. Go learn those sources. Like listen to the people that are just intelligent and I guess positive people like your David Goggins and those kind of people who are just they want something better out of us. And I think that that's something that a lot of people let die when they go into these monotonous, like the 9 to 5 grind. When they get the kind of comfortable schedule and nothing changes at all ever. People get into this non-growth mindset. And so it's important to listen to people that are like motivational. Like you listen to your like David Goggins, like Andrew Huberman, to a certain extent, like Jordan Peterson, like people like that, that are actively, encouraging people. And I'm talking mostly to young men right now, just because that's my wheelhouse. And encouraging us to take back our reality, to be active, to be the main character in our own video game, and really, really just like take your life seriously, enjoy your life, and realize that yes, like you know, life isn't always fair. But guess what? You can't control the hand you're dealt. You can only control the way you play them, and that is, I think, how I started to get into the mindset of somebody who was growth minded, taking willing to take action, willing to learn. For me, it was really really hard to accept other people telling me 22-year-old knew better than I did. That was very hard for me to accept for whatever reason, and that's an internal thing probably I got to figure out. But like, I was like, no way. I went to school for 7 years and I got this degree, that degree. And, I've got all these life experiences, and this little, knucklehead is out here killing it. And so swallowing my pride, that was part of it. So YouTube, get on YouTube, listen to people that are just out there giving lots of free information away. I mean, it's incredible. If you want to get good at calling, there's so many resources out there. You want to get good at systems integration, so many free resources out there. Start learning those things and then start getting around those people. There are meetups for every single topic, under the sun. There's pad split meetups, there's midterm, meetups, there's long-term meetups, there's Airbnb specialists, there's, wholesaling specific meetups, there's any meetup under the sun. So if you're in any metro city, you are within an hour of a meetup within probably a week or two. And so there's no excuse not to get around these people.
Oh, that's so good. Such a great place to start. YouTube it's an amazing resource. I know I definitely that's where I started for sure. And so my last question for you, in the spirit of the podcast, being the labelless podcast where we remove labels from people's lives, what's one thing that you could leave with the people to just help them remove a label from their life, whether that's self-imposed or other imposed? Like, what do you think they can do to kind of just shed that label and just move forward with their lives?
Dude, you can do it. You can do it. For so long I thought that that investing was just for the rich or the lucky or the this or that. Well, I'm here to tell you, no, you can do it. And the only person holding your back is yourself. So get out of your own way. Get out of your own way and stop using that negative internal language. It, going back to your label, removing the label, like remove the can't label from your dictionary, because you can do anything. You can do absolutely anything with the assistance of someone that's already done it before. So you can do it. You just haven't got around people that are actively doing it and can show you how it's done. And so when I'm looking at my high school friends, and the ones that they absolutely doubted any the it when I got into subject two, it's a creative finance strategy, and they all doubted. They thought it was a scam. They thought it was this. They thought it was that. They put their own labels on it. Instead, what I did is I came at it with an open mind, and I created my own label. I made that label whatever I wanted. And so remove the can't label from your repertoire, from your verbiage. That's what I would say.
Man, love it. Appreciate it. So how can people get a hold of you?
So my Instagram is house for Houston, the number 4. You can find me on there, on Facebook, Houston Becquet. I'm very active on both. So yeah, give me a follow, give me a like. I also too got my own YouTube channel, Houston Becquet, as well, BECQUET. My phone number is, you can DM me for my phone number.
Right, right. No, we'll include those here in the description as well. So, guys, definitely give them a follow, give them a shout. Houston, appreciate it so much. Thanks for your time, bro.
Absolutely, Bryce. Thank you so much. It was been a pleasure. Have a great one.